Welcome to SVGTV's news for Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. New protocols will soon be instituted for vaccinated and non-vaccinated persons. So said Prime Minister Dr. Gonsalves while speaking on radio this morning. One of the revisions made to the protocols would be the discontinuation of at-home quarantine, which was instituted a few weeks ago for persons traveling to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And a big change is that we've started already. This idea of allowing people to go into quarantine at home, we're going to discontinue that for a while, even though you're vaccinated, because if you're vaccinated, most countries you come from, you'll just be doing 2 days quarantine in the hotel. If you come from a very highly a very high-risk country, you'd have to quarantine, even with a vaccine, for up to 7 days or more. And the very high-risk countries would be Brazil, Trinidad and Tobago, Venezuela, Ecuador, South Africa, Suriname, Colombia, Belize, Guyana, Panama, India, Mexico, Argentina, Peru. You know, the names would be there.
The Prime Minister explained that persons have tried to trick the system of quarantining at home, which has become problematic for health officials.
We were allowing people to go to their homes if everybody is vaccinated, or to go to a house where nobody else lives. But you're supposed to do that and give the information to the Health Services Subcommittee of NEMO 2 weeks before. But people just turning up, and they're creating a lot of problems. They want to go, they have a house, sometimes they send the information to you, to them 24, 36, 48 hours before. They just don't have it to check hundreds of individual places across the country. And what is worse, people are saying that their families are vaccinated, everybody in the house. And that is not so.
Prime Minister Gonsalves noted that it will be difficult for some persons, but they have to take this route in order to avoid a spike in COVID-19 cases and to safeguard against the Delta variant, which is already in the region.
So people have been abusing this. You remember when the protocols were abused by a number of persons coming in from at Christmas time? How the spike went up, how it went up, and then very badly so in January and February. And right at the moment, you have some real deadly variants like the Delta. And it's in a number of countries in the region, including in Trinidad. We have to be very careful that doesn't go here.
Non-vaccinated persons will now have to pay to get a COVID-19 test done at health centers at a cost of $26 EC. On radio this morning, Prime Minister Gonsalves was asked about the cost a COVID-19 test now attracts. The Prime Minister noted that workplaces are asking for tests to be procured as part of ensuring a safe working environment, and the tests are being done at the expense of taxpayers. He said all tests can no longer be free except for the first 2 tests.
You need to come with a COVID test. You either get vaccinated or come with a COVID test every Monday morning. Well, why should the state, you don't want to take the vaccine, why should we pay for your test every Monday morning? Why don't you just take the vaccine? And people must speak the full truth. You get the first one free. I think they even give you the second one free. But you deciding you're not taking the vaccine for whatever reason, and I take the vaccine. I'm a taxpayer, I have to pay for it. It costs nearly $10 US to do the antigen test for each one.
Reiterating that the tests are not cheap, the Prime Minister explained the financial burden, which he said is unfair for vaccinated taxpayers.
let us in close to 50,000 employees in the country of all kinds. Johnny P.
Right.
Public sector and private sector. 40-something thousand, but let me say 50,000. Imagine if 50,000 persons, well, persons out of that are vaccinated. So let us say you have 40,000 people who need it. So every Monday morning, we have to pay for 40,000 persons on air to that by 10 US. That's $400,000. 400,000 US every Monday morning. $100,000 is $1 million. In fact, in those tests alone is about $50 million.
Vincentians now have a second option of COVID-19 vaccines to choose from with the arrival of 50,000 doses of the Sputnik vaccine from Russia last evening. On radio today, Prime Minister Gonzalez said he is looking forward to see more Vincentians get vaccinated, as many persons seem to prefer the Sputnik vaccine rather than the AstraZeneca.
You remember, I tried to talk the home truths to the population, and some people are not listening. I'm begging you, please, take the vaccine. We just got, Simone Kieserbees tells me this morning, we just got the first dose. There are 2 doses for the Sputnik. Remember we said we were ordering?
Yes.
And the first dose of 50,000 came. Well, some people said they don't want AstraZeneca, they go take the Sputnik because they come and take the Sputnik. Well, we will see now. We will see. I'm making every
50,000 should go like hot bread then, in that case.
Well, I'm making every single effort.
To date, more than 25,000 persons have been vaccinated. 4 new COVID-19 positive cases were reported here from 212 samples processed on Monday, July 12, 2021, resulting in a positivity rate of 1.9%. 2 of the 4 new cases are imported cases. 10 new recoveries were noted over the reporting period. 78 cases are currently active and 12 persons with COVID-19 have died. 2,249 cases of COVID-19 and 2,159 recoveries have been recorded in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The health authorities say persons who persist in incorrect or no mask use, remain unvaccinated, and participate in mass gatherings will continue to be at a risk for being infected and spreading COVID-19, and that to reduce the spread of COVID-19 on island, compliance with the protocols, including the effective use of masks, physical distancing, and the evidence-based recommendations to be vaccinated with the available vaccines is strongly recommended. And 2 men appeared before the serious offenses court today, charged over fake COVID-19 vaccinated certificates. The police say Gabriel Hutchins, a 51-year-old chef of Harmony Hall, and Jeffton Lewis, a 30-year-old clerk of Diamond, allegedly made a false instrument, namely a certificate of COVID-19 vaccination, with the intention to induce an employee of Musty Company to accept it as genuine. The incident is said to have occurred between January 1st, 2021 and July 10th, 2021. When they appeared in court today, Hutchins and Lewis pleaded not guilty to the charge and were granted bail. The matter was transferred to the Calico Magistrate Court to be heard on September 27th. In other news, students across St. Vincent and the Grenadines are tentatively set to return to the classroom on October 4, 2021. This is according to a correspondence sent to principals of all schools by Chief Education Officer Elizabeth Walker. The dates, which depend on the COVID-19 cases on island, will see Professional Development Week run from September 20th to September 24th. The first term will end on December 17th. 17th and with a two-week Christmas break. The second term will commence on January 3rd, 2022, with a two-week Easter break from April 4th to April 15th, and with the third term beginning on April 19th, 2022 to July 1st, 2022. The ministry official says if conditions permit face-to-face instruction, will be a mode of teaching applied for the upcoming school year. Director of the UE Seismic Research Center, Dr. Urasila Joseph, has taken over as lead scientist monitoring Lassifere volcano. Providing an update on the volcano on radio this morning, the female scientist said that it will take weeks to months before the volcano goes back to a quiet phase based on the pattern observed.
There's still no, very minimal or no deformation being observed on the deformation network. That's the ground deformation network. And we continue to see a consistent amount of degassing with an average flux of about 502 tons per day. However, a measurement was done on the 8th of July of the West Coast, and this yielded a flux of 306 tons per day. So there was another measurement done yesterday, but the results of that hasn't been processed just yet.
There are still 3 vents where steam is being emitted and anomalies continue to be detected from NASA. Dr. Joseph said due to hot magma rocks being close to the surface, it is still too dangerous for persons to be at the summit of the crater.
The primary concern up there is that if essential workers are up on the summit, and there's rainfall or even, just normal surface water percolation. As people know, there is a small lake in the crater as well. That signifies that, there is storage of water in the volcano itself. It's just like the water will flash to steam, so it's instant heating, so because of course the temperatures are so hot, and these things generate, little explosions, what we call phreatic explosions in the crater. But this is limited to within that area, and of course it's mostly a hazard to anybody on the flanks of the volcano, particularly at the summit.
The former lead scientist monitoring the volcano, Lloyd Lynch, left the state today to return to the Montserrat Observatory. Chateaubelair and Fitzhugh residents can fully return to their homes from Friday, July 23, 2021. The decision was made by the government yesterday at a meeting held with the National Emergency Council. Speaking on radio today, Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Saab said the cleanup exercise in the 2 communities should be completed before the date given for residents to start returning home.
People are going back, and Chateaubelair is almost completely cleaned up, and Fitzhugh's by and large. They're working on the school now, the Golden Grove playing field. We discussed that yesterday. I called Lotto to coordinate because they've been running the field really with Sports Council, them and Bragster to do that cleaning up. And I want them to proceed and have that cleaned up before the 23rd. We could say a little earlier, but to be safe. But a lot of people have moved back down in Chateau, and many families have gone to Fitzhugh's as we have done the cleaning up, and they have done cleaning up.
Chateaubelair and Fitzhugh are in the orange zone on the hazard map, but were placed in the red zone after Lassifere explosively erupted. Permission is yet to be granted for Richmond, which is also in the red zone on the leeward end, to be reoccupied. On the north of Raboka, which is in the red zone, residents have begun to fully reoccupy some communities. The government had earlier announced that communities that can be reoccupied in the red zone are south of the Raboka River. However, on radio today, Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Saab acknowledged that some residents have already resettled north of Raboka and that basic services have been provided to them, noting that most recently water has been restored up to Sandy Bay.
Basically, and people have moved into overland. We have the electricity available there. Water has gone back to Sandy Bay, but we have to understand that there's a makeshift system. So if we have heavy rainfalls and you're going to have mud flows coming down, they're going to get in the system like last weekend with Elsa. We have to close it down.
The Prime Minister thanked the Central Water and Sewage Authority, CWSA, for doing a great job as they press on to restore water fully to all communities affected by the volcanic eruption.
Garth Saunders told me yesterday that he's trying to meet the deadline of the end of this month for the rebuilding of the main Sandy Bay catchment.
Right.
If he doesn't meet it, we shouldn't hang him for it, because they're doing a tremendous amount of work. And I want again to praise the workers at CWSA. Everybody, they're doing. We have to spare thought for them, more than a thought, because they put their lives at risk. And so too Vinlec workers, and we have to thank them. They're doing a splendid job.
While a committee headed by Chief Physical Planner Dorrit Hull has been established to demarcate areas above the dry river where persons would not be allowed to rebuild. The rest of the committee consists of Director of NEMO, the Chief Engineer or a representative, the Chief Surveyor, Professor Richard Robertson, advisor to the committee, and Dr. Ursula Joseph, director of the UWI Seismic Research Center, who will offer technical advice. The Agency for Public Information, API, said, speaking at a meeting to the National Emergency Council yesterday, July 13th, Prime Minister Dr. Alf Gansaf said it was necessary to set up the committee to carry this very important function, as there are specifically vulnerable areas where persons would not be allowed to rebuild. He said the decision to which areas are prohibited will be published, and physical markers would also be put down to indicate where persons can and cannot rebuild. Meantime, the API said Prime Minister Gansaf has indicated that the government, in conjunction with an NGO, will be constructing 27 houses on the leeward side of the country where homes were badly affected during the volcanic eruptions. The government of Japan on Tuesday decided to extend the emergency grant aid of $1.58 million to SVG to support the populations affected by the eruption of La Soufrière volcano. Since the eruption of La Soufrière in April 2021, more than 10,000 people are still displaced and over 2,000 evacuees remain in shelters. This prolonged displacement has impacted livelihoods and also created a need for assistance with food access. A news release from the OACS Media Center said the emergency grants will finance humanitarian assistance in the areas of shelter renovation and food assistance through the International Organization for Mitigation and the World Food Program. The aid follows the government of Japan's previous donation of emergency relief goods to SVG in May 2021. The news release said the government of Japan hopes for SVG's earliest recovery and pledged its continued support to help Caribbean countries overcome the vulnerabilities inherent to small island developing states. Corinne Ballantyne of Mount Grennan, who was charged in connection with the alleged use of a motor vehicle as a roadblock during a protest action last Tuesday, July 6th, pleaded not guilty to all 6 counts of traffic violations when they appeared in the court today. Ballantyne appeared before the Chief Magistrate of the Serious Offences Court in Kingstown today. Ballantyne was charged for being the driver of motor vehicle PD 962 did play a musical instrument and in said vehicle in a public space without the written consent of the Commissioner of Police, did not stop the said vehicle on a road so as to cause an inconvenience to the public in exercise of common rights, did fail to remove the said vehicle when requested to do so by a police officer in uniform when it was placed in such a position to do as to cause obstruction to the free flow of traffic, willingly allow the said vehicle to stand on such a road so as to cause unnecessary obstruction to the free flow of traffic, use the said vehicle without there being in a force policy insurance in respect of third-party risk in respect of the user said vehicle, and drive the said vehicle without being the holder of a driving permit. Outside the Serious Offences Court today, where there was a small group of protesters calling for justice, Ballantyne shared her feelings about the charges.
Anyhow, no fair, absolutely no fair. I have my papers, I have everything, so I am not afraid of nothing. Thank you. I'm not afraid, no, I'm not afraid, no, I'm not afraid. If them a come, let them come, because I'm protected by the Most High God. Well, I am Kareem Ballantyne. I've been given 6 charges. I attended the court this morning, and they put it off until the 8th. So that is all that I have to say.
8th of August.
I cannot disclose anything else. They put it off until the 8th. Thank you.
Ballantyne is being represented by Israel Bruce in the matters where the matters were adjourned to early August. The Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, the SVG-PF, is mourning the death of one of its serving members who passed away on Tuesday, July 12, 2021 at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital after a brief illness. Dead is Police Constable 702 Delano Robertson from Rose Hall. The Police Public Relations and Complaints Department in a news release said Constable Robertson, who was enlisted into the organization on July 31st, 1999, had a long and distinguished career as a police officer spanning over 20 years, serving the government and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines with distinction. Constable Robinson would have worked at several stations and departments, which include Special Services Unit, Beat and Patrol Mesopotamia, Georgetown, Spring Village, and the Rose Hall police stations, where he was attached up to the time of his death.